we're live. Okay, we're live. Everybody, peoples, we're live. It's a little bit before 1, so I'm not gonna totally start yet. I have my beautiful friend Pam here. Pam, come and say hi. Pam's
Hello.
like, the camera loves Pam. And Pam offered to come and give me a little bit of help here today. So I'm super happy to have you here, Pam.
Thank you.
And so now, just wait like another minute or something, then I'm going to start formally. Not that I'm very formal. Is it 1 o'clock, Pam?
It's 12:59.
Okay. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Tammy Hudgen, and I've been working as an artist for about 20 years. I'm kind of like an unexpected artist in that I spent most of my life not believing that I was creative in any way, or that I had any creativity or anything to offer in that way. And so it wasn't until it was later in maybe in my 30s or something, I started playing. I was learning how to do woodworking, and I was making funny little stools and things like that. And then I had bought my partner a paint set. My partner at that time a paint set, and for Christmas, just 6 little tubes of acrylic paint. Anyway, because he was the artist in the house, okay? Because he was the artist in the house. I totally used to believe that there could only be one artist in a house, and he was it. So it was definitely not, that wasn't for me. But, I bought the paint, like, there's something there. Anyways, after several months, he didn't use it, and then I broke out these little paints one day, and I started painting away on little scraps of wood, because we did building, and we were building our house. And I've shown this before, but like, this is like, this is important. This is like, I made this. I made so many other wood things after this, but this is the simplest little wood thing I made. And then I painted, and I just painted this super folk art bird, and it felt so good. And even though I was super judging, like, I can't, like, that's so laughable, right? Like, it's kind of feels, it felt foolish to me, but I loved it, right? So I kept going, and then I got really, really good at toll painting, which is more, painting all those kind of little teddy bears and all that stuff. And I felt like that felt really good, because I was learning how to handle a paintbrush, and I was learning so much about painting. And then, but I wasn't, I kind of got bored of that, because like I was using other people's patterns, and once I had the skills, then my desire to create something a little bit more wild came again. And then I kind of got streamed into glass. Like, I streamed myself into the glass realms, and there I lived happily for probably 10 years, like very, very content and super excited about all the things that I was creating. And then I started getting this kind of creative itch and urge, and I knew I needed to do something different again. And that's when I started painting paintings that were not like toll painting, and they were not like this little rooster. And they were, I should have one sitting here so I can show you, but I'll grab one after and show you one of those. But that was on wood, and they were very wild and gnarly, and lots of, because like, by then, after working with glass, glass, even though I really stretched all the boundaries with glass and went all over the place with it, the actual process is fairly contained. And that was really good for me for a while, that container. But at a certain point, I needed to bust out of that container, because it felt, I needed something else too, right? I've done my glass all along since then. I love it. But I needed something else where I could just kind of go, blah, And that's when I started painting with acrylic paints on wood and just any old chunks of wood. I was painting on, again, any old chunks of wood because it kind of removed the preciousness so that I could approach it without worrying about the outcome. So that's the kind of thing that I want to be able to share with you. And also, I didn't want to worry about the outcome, but then after a while, even in that painting, I started worrying about the outcome. And then the more I learned about making a good painting, which was really valuable stuff, and I know it, and I can show you, the more I learned that, the kind of the tighter I got again, because I had all these kind of rules in my head. So it just took me some time to integrate what I'd learned and then let my own spirit come back out again. What do I really want to express? You know, what do I really want to paint? And yeah, so it's been this journey, and it might be like that for you too. So what I want to say is that's all normal. Like if that's your journey, that's normal. And if you feel like you're constricted sometimes, that's kind of normal. But what I want to tell you is that I found a way to not feel like that very often or even hardly ever, because it sucks to feel constricted. We want to feel expansive, and that's fear is what, it's the fear that keeps us feeling constricted. And when we're in this free-flowing state, we feel expansive and connected, and to ourselves first and foremost, but then to everything. So that's what I want to share with you. So first off, I'm going to do a painting demo. I've been doing a few of them in my Facebook group and on Instagram, and I'll show you the results of some of that. Like I did this donkey painting the other day in the Facebook group, and if you're on my newsletter list, you will have seen the whole video of the long form and the speeded up one. But underneath this donkey is a chicken, and underneath that chicken is a whole bunch of scribbling and stuff. And then this just arrived impulse by impulse as I was filming. And then on the other side, there's the beginnings of something. And this side I was filming for my Paint Your Wild Spirit course. So this is a piece that I'm going to be going through the full process and showing in some of the live demos that we do in there. So there's one of the things you might have seen recently.
You have a couple hellos here.
Hellos? Oh, cool.
Shirley Jane says hello. Renata says hello. Victoria Serafina says she can identify with what you were talking about.
Oh, cool.
And Melanie La Ocas. Hello, first time here.
Yay! Oh, welcome everybody. Okay, and then this one I was working on and messing around with, and it had been a painting of the deer to start with a couple of years ago. This little guy's been kind of floating around. I had him mounted in one of those shadow box frames, and then it got all paint all over it. Like, he didn't want to be in there. So then the other day I started messing with him during one of my lives, and then last night I added these gold smudges, and I think I'm just going to call him done. Like, oh, there's the reflection you can't really see, but I'm going to call him completed, so you can see how there's lots of scratching in the wood. That's why I love painting on wood, because I can just I can really, you know, I can really get my yayas out. Like I love just going with a nail or something. It's so satisfying, and you know, we don't get to do that very much in our life. Just sort of like do something that's kind of rough and ready, but we're making a painting. Here's another one that I had been painting, and this had a raven woman riding on the back, but she said she was on her side saddle, and I never really understood. I don't think, you know, women are badass, like riding side saddle at the same speed as guys who are like that's just like women, right?
Totally.
Holy shit. Woo! With long freaking gowns and everything. anyways, I took her off of here. And then because I had that whole chicken on the donkey thing, I thought, I'm just going to put chicken on here. And then I added these stripes. And then this is totally like gnarly with lots of layers. It's on wood. It's on a thin piece of wood that then got a wooden backing made for it. And those were the two that I was working on. And I did this thing yesterday in the live that I did on Instagram, and this was all completely different. You wouldn't recognize it at all from yesterday. And so I'm going to do some working on this, but I want to also show you a little bit about like the substrates that I use, because I use anything. So canvas, I use canvas, but it's just not tough enough for me, so I often will collage and collage and collage, so it almost gets like wood, because I like to, and it's really expensive canvas can sometimes handle it, but this is inexpensive canvas, but it's great because it's ready to go. Do a ton of collage, because I love collaging, and so I can get all of that expression onto here and enjoy myself by just smearing glue and paper without any plan. And then I can make a painting on top of that. Here's a wood one, pre-made, and here's this little canvas thing. I don't even know where it came from, but I will make a painting on it. And raw canvas. I paint on raw canvas. It can hang. And then when I first started wanting to have the experience of going big with raw canvas, I painted this, which I was just kind of pretending that I was making a quilt, but it's in a painting form. Here, I'll try. You can't totally see it, but you get the idea. And then, because I wanted more experience painting big, I painted the other side too. And this was a really easy way for me to get to play with going big, other than painting a whole wall or something. So I got that, I do that, I paint on that kind of thing. This is a big chunk of plywood that got washed up on the beach. So I paint on that and I love it. And on the other side of this one is all of the women, the raven-headed women in their long dresses. If you've seen that in some of my promo and my recent pictures. So that's what I love to do. I love to paint on anything I feel like this board came right off the beach. But look how cool it is. And then I wanted to keep it with this weird shape. And my partner Ode, who does some of the wood piece for me, said, well, are you sure you don't want me to square that up? I'm like, no, don't square it up. So that has lots of layers on it also. So now I'm going to show you a little bit of how I might start something. And if you have any questions along the way or whatever, just please ask. And Pam is watching and seeing what I'm doing. So, and I know so many little tricks. I'll share one with you right now. I learned this in a painting course with Nicholas Wilton, where you have a black and white. That's the only painting course I've ever taken. You have a black and white kind of swatch, and you can stick that onto something, and you can see if you have, if your values and what's going on with your colors, and do you have stuff that has the value contrast and stuff like that. So even though it looks like it's just all wild and I'm just free for all, which I am, I also have the knowledge and the skills inside me to come back from this place and still, you know, I'm going to take this somewhere. This will end up being a finished painting. I just don't know what it's going to look like. You know, I don't have a preconceived idea. So one of the things this has this big lumber pencil, so it makes like, kind of like the marks, but I also like not like super having that control. And so on this piece, I think, like sometimes I start by writing. I'll write. And so today I'm gonna just kind of, you know, like what words come automatically, and you'll find your own words, like what words come automatically when you start to write. For me, freedom, I write that almost on everything that I make. Somewhere the word freedom is on. If you have a piece of my art, it probably has that. But I could also do like, I am feeling free, or I'm feeling tight. Because, you know, all of that is going to add to, you know, there's a reflection, so I'm not sure about it. All of that is going to add to whatever comes on top of this. So I'm going to, like I've been doing lately, I'm going to just glue some things on, and I often have all kinds of old gift wrap, and I'm not selecting any of this purposefully right now. And this, even though it's going to become a painting later, I'm going to work right on top of it, because I know that any of the drips or things that go over are only going to add to the interest. Because it's not a finished piece, you know, there's nothing really going on with it. Yeah, there's something going on with it, but yeah. So I'm going to start with gluing. And I have this tub, and it's a mix of matte medium and gloss medium. But you can also just use white glue, or you can use Mod Podge. Here's some pieces from a bigger piece of paper that I just smeared all kinds of paint on. And I can show you about how to do that too. I'm just going to glue some of these. This is kind of thicker paper. See, like I don't know what that looks like to you, but you know, it's like it's a little bit messy. As long as there's lots of medium on there, and it'll stick. And you know, ideally, I would have had one of these prepared, you know, before this call. But actually, this bottom one can kind of serve that purpose. I love polka dots. My friend Leslie gave me this paper. I'm going to glue that on. Yeah, and I used to think that I had to be able to draw realistically to be an artist. Like that's another one of the myths that I believed. And I've since met like so many amazing artists that do not draw realistically. And not that I mean, I love the realistic drawings. I think that's freaking awesome. It's just not my strength. And so I felt really disempowered by that. But then when I leaned into drawing, I actually can draw pretty well when I just get out of my own way, but not like someone who loves to draw. And this is the kind of thing that I love to draw. And then once, like, when I found what do I really love, what happened was, over the years of painting, you know, like themes emerged for me, the things I wanted to express, what I wanted to paint, how I wanted it to feel, and also how did I want to feel when I was painting. And at this point in time in my art career, all those things are the most aligned that they've ever been. So I've always, ever since I started painting again from the way past the toll painting days, I've painted what I wanted, but I didn't feel free doing it, even if the feeling of freedom was in the painting. But now I feel free doing it, and the feeling of freedom is in the painting. And so that's the piece that's the piece that's really important, because it just sucks to feel so constricted around something that can feel so joyful, like just the pure pleasure of playing with paint. And and then also, okay, so I'm talking a lot because I'm excited, because I love what I do, and I want to make sure that I, share. One of the things that I love about doing this collaging too is that I can put things on that all together that I wouldn't combine any other place. Like, I wouldn't wear my clothes. Well, I don't know. Maybe some days I would. Might not wear this many patterns or whatever, but
Why not?
yeah, I know. It's true. I kind of do sometimes, but at this stage with this collaging, it's really a free-for-all. And sometimes I deliberately choose things that just be like, why would you, put those together? It doesn't, like, from someone else's perspective, or even from my own, things that just don't seemingly work. But yet I love the contrast of the juxtaposition of things. So one of some of my words, which help me to guide me with my art, and which I can share with you, which I'll share so much with you in the course, is raw and sophisticated, like childlike, innocent and sophisticated, and delicate and what's that other one? I think, like, I love things that are rough, but then there's kind of like really delicate and feminine too, so I like combining that. I think that's why, like painting on the rough panels is appealing, because it's already built into them. I can roughen up like a brand new panel, and I do all the time, but like, here's an example. This one has all the layers. It's a rough old piece of wood, and you can kind of see the texture. I mean, it was perfect for this, but I know where this wood came from. It came from making a window in an old building, and it's a solid piece of wood, but it had this life before. It had all this texture. And then I did all my collaging, and then I did painting on top, and scribbling and scraping. And so this, I think that this kind of feels delicate and rough, both. Mm-hmm. And he said the figures are kind of, like, look at the little deer. It's really delicate. Anyway, so that's the kind of stuff that I want to be able to share. I want to share these things that I know about painting and creativity, and finding the places where, your authentic voice can come through without a whole bunch of pre-editing, and know that you'll edit later, but let's let it out. Let's let that voice have a place in the world. We need to have all the voices be heard, and we can be so judgmental, like I learned along the way too, with free expression painting, that which isn't anything like what I'm doing here, but we make the judgment so quickly about what we're doing, that if we're not really mindful or paying attention, we will not even realize that we've had the thought, but we'll change what we're doing. Like, so it's about starting to notice, what are the thoughts going on in my mind when I'm creating? And like I said in the live video yesterday, the voice that is the loudest and the most repetitive is your inner critic. And there's probably like 5 or 6 lines that they always got for you, no matter what, pretty much. And when we can start to tune into which ones those are, then we can work with those. And that's something else that I've learned. I've had to learn, right? Because I want to create. And I didn't want to be bogged down. And I was suffering a lot. And I was painting. And I was painting and painting and painting, trying to get better. You know, trying to get good. Thinking that it's in the hours and hours and hours of painting that I'm going to get good. And some of it is. Like, some of it is literally in the hours and hours of painting. But then even when I was doing that, I was still suffering because I was so harshly judging. And, you know, I was prejudging. And so there's a time and a place for critiquing and understanding what's going on in a painting. And there's a time and a place for letting it all out in painting. And eventually, you know, like sometime down the line, those things can kind of blend and merge into a holistic practice of painting that feels good. And that's kind of where I feel like I've arrived at. So I feel like I'm ready to share what I know with other people. I didn't really feel ready before because, like, I'm not a teacher. I wasn't a teacher. I didn't teach. I didn't even come feeling like I wanted to teach. I had so many people asking me all through the years, will you teach? Will you teach? And I never wanted to. And it was just, I think I just didn't feel capable or something. But now I totally do. And I have the proof now because I've had my creative sovereignty course twice, which Pam was part of.
It was amazing.
And I know that I've got something valuable to offer, and it's different. But that's okay, right? Like, that's needed. That's what I'm asking and inviting you to step into your differentness with your art and in your life. Okay, so I've glued. Usually I would glue a lot more, but, you know, for the sake of this demo, because I don't want to be... And it's not dry, but that's okay. Oh, I got this brush. It's still got some of that glue on it, but that's okay too. And I've got some water in a bin here. It's a little bit dirty, but that's okay too. It's only when you want to make sure you have your pure colors that you want to make sure you have clean water. Most of the time, I'm blending and mixing my colors right on my painting, not necessarily on a palette, often not on a palette. So this actually helps. So I'm going to go with what is my first impulse, to put paint on here. And I love turquoise, so I'm going with turquoise. And sometimes I deliberately choose the color that I don't really like, just to see. I'm not being careful, right? You just because I know that this is just the beginning. I'm getting some paint on. I'm building up my layers, and maybe that's why I love layering and collaging, because it gives me all of this time to play. I don't have to make any kind of decisions really, other than nothing. Like, it can be very impulsive kind of decisions. So I really like that. I like using kind of bigger brushes too.
I have a couple more hellos and a goodbye.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for, if you have to leave, that's fine. Do what you need to do.
They're coming back to watch after.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And if you're on my mailing list, you will definitely get a replay of this. So if you have to leave and you want to make sure, actually there's another page on my, open on my laptop that has a link to add their name. People can add their name onto my Paint Your Wild Spirit interest. So can you see where? Yeah, on the I'll show you over here. Sorry, I should have had that ready, but I right here. If you
I can post
cut and paste that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So if people have their name there, if they have to leave, but they want to make sure that they get to see the whole video, because it's not always easy to refine these things on Facebook, then you'll definitely get a replay, and you'll get to hear all about the inside details of Paint Your Wild Spirit. So there's something there happening. Just got some colors, I'm going to put a little bit of red. This is cadmium red. It's my favorite, actually, red. I'm just going to smear some of that right there.
Oh, Erin wants to know when the course is happening.
All the details will come out right after this call. Anyone who's on my list will get all of the details in an email, and it'll be for sale for a week starting after this live demo, or it'll be for sale until course starts. Actually, you can get right in and start painting on the 21st. So between now and then, it will be available, and you'll be hearing from me, and especially if you're on my newsletter list, I'm going to be sharing a lot more about it this week. The things that I've learned, I'm going to be sharing things in my emails that will interest you too. Whether you ever sign up or not, you will get value from what I'm going to be sharing about my painting experiences. So, sorry. Yeah.
How do your paints not dry out being in open containers?
Oh, this is so great, because this is what I'm going to show. These are the kind of things I will be showing in the course. So, in this tub, right? And then I have it in the paint tray. And then I have a dirty old rag in the bottom. And I put water in there. And then when I have the lid on, it stays. Like, some of them get a little bit dried out, but it lasts. It'll last and last and last. And you know, the reason why I started doing this was because it was hard for me to overcome the resistance of breaking open the paint tube and squirting it out, because I was still operating from that scarcity mindset, and it all felt really precious, and I didn't want to waste it. And if I squirted it out, then I better be committed. And what if I didn't have enough time to hang out and paint? Then I would have wasted it. And so at one point along the way, I discovered this. I saw another artist with this, and I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so that's made it easy for me, because then my paints are always available, and I can just come in. And whether you have a studio or not, it doesn't matter. I was going to talk to that too. Like, if you're working on your kitchen table, I want to tell you, one of the most amazing artists that was really a mentor for me as I was coming up with my glass, she made her paintings on the kitchen table for years. She was represented by galleries all over North America. So you don't have to have an art studio to paint. You don't have to have an art studio to do this painting course. That's for sure. And if you had a place in your house, you can just tuck this away. You don't need to have 2 tubs. You can have 1 tub. You can even have a littler tub. So that's how. Okay. So there's something here happening. I think that I will. Oh, I forgot. I often scribble too. That wasn't planned because it's red. It's red. I didn't look at what color it was going to be, which is good, because it's adding something that I wouldn't have expected, maybe. And also, like, I'm wearing painting overalls, but when I was first painting, I just wore my clothes. Like, clothes that didn't really matter that much, the shirt, because I was painting on smaller. That would have been a big for me when I first started. So, yeah. Now I have an apron sometimes. Like, you can do this without all the stuff that you might think.
Just one more question about the paints. Are the paints out of a tube, or are they the liquid?
I don't have any liquid paints. These are all out of a tube or out of a jar. Because I like it thick. I like the paint thicker. So there's a jar. Here's a jar. Here's a can of mist tint from the hardware store. Maybe I'll just leave that out because I'll share some of that. And then I get big cans of mist tint. So that also makes it easier for me to paint big and not be concerned about, you know, like to paint this buffalo, how many tubes of paint I might have needed to squeeze out. And I still have that preciousness thing, but I'm aware of it, so I can work with it. It's just when I'm not aware that I'm being precious with everything, then it's really a hindrance. But when I start to become aware, so I'm aware that I'm precious with the tubes. So what can I do to make this? What can I do to make this the easiest entry point for me to come in and create something? And that's what I've learned through my own explorations, and that's the kind of stuff that I want to share. And also all the mindset stuff, because that's a piece of it. So in the course, we're going to paint. We're not going to be talking about painting, we're going to be painting. And then we're going to be talking about, we're not even talking, we're going to be working the energy systems of our body to create new patterns in our own minds so that we can create the freedom that we need to engage with our creativity and our creative life and whatever it is that we want to create with a more open, expansive place, which is where lots of cool things happen. So I'm just gobbing into there. This paint is, this paint color is called Belladonna Leaf. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do that, like from the top, I'll just gob some paint. Because, again, it's just the beginning. And I'm going to challenge myself throughout this course to, as I'm guiding people through the content, to do something that's fully abstract, because I often add a little animal. So I really want to challenge myself to see if I can stay in the abstract realms. Because it's good, we get our, even, when I know all the things, I still get into my patterns. So for the yellow was this, it was getting a little, I'm ready to, it wanted to be on here. I'm just going to gob it on there. So, yeah, like I said, this layer, it might not even end up on the final painting, right? It will, it's there, and you'll know it's there. You could have written across here like you're writing in your diary and really expressed yourself, and then layered on top, because you know that it won't get seen. And then all the kinds of ways where I can scrape back through here when it's dry, I can sand, and it reveals all those many layers. And that's what creates, for me anyway, that's what creates the kind of paintings that I really love. It creates this depth. It's not obvious from across the room, but when you get closer, then you get to see. And I also like to add, embellishments, metal pieces and stuff. So, actually, I could do that right now. I'll show you that. I won't be able to work this anymore after that, but I will. You'll be able to see anyways. I have a cupboard here that's filled with things. Here's a bunch of metal things. And sometimes I glue these on. Sometimes I use a thick medium. I'm gonna try and find it. You can use actual paint to stick these on, because the acrylic paint is basically it's like a glue, and the mediums are just clear. They're the clear base of what makes up the paint. So, okay. Yes?
You have two more paint questions. One was, are those paints mixed, the house paint and artist acrylics, and do the wood panels need to be chiseled?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. The reason why, what I understand anyway about gesso, I have a tub of gesso. I use it sometimes, I'll show you this piece that, some of these pieces are in progress that are going to be the pieces that I am creating and I'm going to make something from in the end during the course. Here's this little tiny one. So this has gesso, and I put it on kind of thick, and then I drew into it right away this funny little shape. So whatever paint I put on here, there's going to be a little bit of relief there because of the gesso. And that's how I use gesso. The reason that you would use gesso, like on a wood panel or something like that, is that because gesso is way less expensive than paint, and the wood or the canvas, it soaks up the paint, right? So the gesso, oh, you got it. Oh my God, you're amazing, huh? Okay. This woman has one arm, and she just opened this thing that I couldn't with two. Take a bow. Can you believe it? Oh my God.
Knee strength.
Incredible. Holy shit. Yeah, so gesso, if you want to save on your paint, yeah, use gesso. And if you want to play and explore and see what it's like without it, sometimes I like it. And there's also black. There's black. This isn't black. This is actually black spray paint. I used this for something else. There's another panel that's got spray paint. Oh, that's the bird one that I made the other day from that big garish mess of collage.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, that's why people, well, I don't know. That's why I think people use gesso, because it saves paint. And paint's way more expensive. So I'm going to use this gel. This isn't, I would use actually normally a pasty gel. This is kind of a, it's kind of a gooey gel. Honestly, the gels, you know, all that stuff, I was so confused when I first started painting. I'd go into an art store and it'd be like, I don't even know, because like there's so many things to pick from. I don't know. So this I bought like years ago, and it turned out that I didn't really use it that much. It's called tar gel. I think there's specific purposes for it. This isn't really one of them, but you know, I just play and experiment with things too. When I have them in my studio, they get used. And this is a brass. I think it's an elk. I didn't show you, so I should have showed you. Will you show that? It's for stained glass, actually. And my friend Brenda from Cheeky Monkey Glass, she ordered me all of these animals in, because I knew that I wanted to do like heavy embellishing with my paintings. Awesome. So now I've got that. You can see that. So again, I don't know what will happen with that, but now I really kind of have to leave that. I have to leave that to dry. Just impulse again. I just had this impulse to make these white with my finger. Sometimes I use the end of a cork or something. Just before I go. So I'm going to set that guy aside. And that will dry. And then this one, it's kind of in the same state. Hi, Ode. It's pretty wet, but it's a great, you know, it's going to be a great panel to come back to do something with. So I'll come up a little closer. Oh, see, I just wiped on there, that other one that I made yesterday. So there's a bunch of stuff on there. And I'm just moving some of those things you can see a little better. And then I'm going to do a little bit on that panel, and then I'm going to do something bigger on the wall. But so you can see the collage and the paint and the drippy and the scribbles. So that's, I can imagine something, you know, what I often do is like I often put some kind of animal on it. But like I said, during the course, I'm going to invite the participants, it could be one of you, to challenge me to stay abstract. Anyway, those are first layers. Early days, okay? Early days on those paintings. Sometimes you get a painting that you just love right away on the first layer, and that's super cool. It doesn't happen that often for me, I guess, because I like the build-up of layers. And when it does, then I start liking it, and I'm like, oh, I like this. Oh, but it sure is thin, and the donkey even is a little thin, even though he's got all that collage on him. And he's even got cardboard. So there you go. Very personal, right? What do you like? That's what I'm going to be inviting you to explore. What do you like? Do you like it when it's thinly layered on the canvas? Do you like it when it's thick? Do you like it when it's really messy? Do you like making precise marks? Like, what's your authentic creative voice calling to be expressed? That's the piece that I'm going to be inviting you all the way through to be stepping into. And if you already have that going on, that's great. Then we're just going to like blast it out the other side and just see how far we can go. Because I have a sign, because I have this is a little sign I have in my studio all the time. It says go too far. Yes. So, that's, yeah. Okay, so here I am with this, and this was the thing that I was working on yesterday. And I'll just do a little bit on here. I was liking how I liked this dark when it came after all of this other. That's a little bit about learning about values and things, and that there's some theory to that, and then there's also some practice of noticing when your painting starts to feel a little bit boring. Like if it starts feeling boring even to you, then you know that something needs to happen, right? And let me tell you, that happens, right? And that's when I started to have to learn these other things to support myself, because I was getting bored with my painting, because I was trying to do it, and I was trying to make a good painting that I could show other people and be proud of and sell in a gallery. And even though I've really loved all my paintings all along, I can tell when I'm being careful, because I get bored and tired. And that's always a signal that something different needs to happen, either with the painting or with me and my body. So I need to leave it and go outside and get my feet on the earth, or do some EFT tapping, or something, the tools that I know, all of which I'm going to share with you inside Paint Your Wild Spirit too. So if it's starting to feel boring, sometimes it is the value. There's just not enough contrast going on, because contrast, it doesn't have to be like black and white checkerboard contrast, but contrast is enlivening. It's like when you're laying on the beach on a hot day and then you jump in the water, that's enlivening. But if you just keep saying, oh, the beach is so that's kind of what it can be like with your painting. Oh, it's so hot. Oh, so hot, but I don't want to do anything. It's too cold in the water. Whatever, right? It can be like that with your painting too. You can be like, yeah, but I like it so much. But, like, it's not done. I don't know what to do. And I'm bored. I don't know what to do. So that's when you can just, like, come in. You know, you can come in and do something, like, you don't have to do it like that all the time, like what I'm going to show you. You can come in and do something more radical. Because, for one thing, like, it feels really good to do something radical. Here's my big can of turquoise. It's called Adam's Green. So I'm going to get my brush really wet. And then I'm going to dip into the paint. And then I'm going to go. So if I was on a a panel, that doesn't even feel radical, does it, when you see it? But the actual act might feel a bit radical, especially if you're more cautious, which is normal. That's what we do when we don't really know, or we're kind of afraid of doing something that might get messy, but it's the messy stuff that makes the really great paint. Like, oops. I really
It's beautiful.
You didn't hear that, did you? I like those drips and that turquoise. There's something happening now. This feels more interesting to me. So, I know what there's more I can do with this, but I don't think I will, because what I'm going to do next does require maybe some of this to be a little bit drier. Although, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. Just because, you know, and when I'm painting on my own too, I often don't wait because I'm impatient. What's going to happen next? Okay, I got to try that. One of the tools in my toolbox that I love to use, because a lot of the painting is often wild, I'm going to move these trays a little bit so you can see this better, is I like to use stencils. So they help to give this preciseness to something that has a lot of randomness happening. And that's always pleasing to me. So I think I'm going to, I often revert to a crow stencil. I have a much bigger one, but I don't have it with me right now. I don't have it handy, but this could use a big, this could have a big bird on here really easily and look really cool. Oh, Pam's crawling across the floor so she doesn't get in the way. Thank you, Pam. So I'm going to put this bird over here. I'm looking for that to be a little bit more, what do I want? Do I want that light or dark? Light or dark? Light or dark? It doesn't really matter. I can choose either, because if I don't like it, I can always change it. I'm going with dark, even though it's going on a dark background. I'm not being super precise with the stencil. It's helpful sometimes if you're really precise with the stencil, because it just really highlights the contrast. Again, here's another place of contrast, right? Like something that's cut out and more precise against something that's less controlled is interesting. It's an interesting contrast that is inviting to the eye, I guess I would say. That one didn't go as precise because my brush is a little bit wet. But it doesn't matter, like I can paint over him and redo him if I want him to be more precise. I always tend to like threes, but it's pretty wet up there. And I'm starting to use like even numbers. I don't know. So I often use odd numbers when I'm. So there's that happening. This is a little oil pastel. So I can just kind of scrape across there. Again, it's not having this particular rhyme or rhythm. It's just making the marks. Because I can take these away again. And so like in the course, you know, I'm not going to invite you to paint like me. I'm going to invite you to paint like you. Like, what is the mark that you want to make? What is the mark that your body and your hand and your heart is wanting to make? So there's, there's a live video that shows where this came from. It was really pretty awful. I mean, it is. Maybe some people would still think it is, but I really like the gnarly. So, and this is how I paint. Now, after I might, you know, like go around this crow and make it look like, you know, maybe paint those colors around there or maybe around there. I don't know. Again, like this is I guess this is the third layer, but it's not done. But there's something interesting enough that I'm going to go back. Like, it's got my attention. And it feels interesting. So yeah, that's a pretty fun place to be, right? With your own paintings. If you feel kind of interested in them and they're calling you back, that's a pretty sweet spot to be creating from. And like I said, it wasn't always that way for me, because I put so much pressure on myself to make something good or make something that so-and-so would like or so-and-so would like. And I can name any number of different artists that I was like, oh, I hope they'll like this, or oh, I hope they'll like that. And then I think that's, maybe not everybody goes through that, but I think some other people do too. And that's okay, like nothing wrong with that. It's just that it wasn't good for me to stay in that place, because as long as I was thinking that, then those people were in my mind when I was painting, which meant, what is that next mark going to be? You know, I may not make that next mark that feels natural because one of my art heroes, who I actually know, might not like it, or like whatever. So I want to invite us all to get over that, and I know the ways to do it now. So here, I'm just gonna hook up a piece of raw canvas. It's primed on one side. So whoever asked about the gesso, this is basically pre-gessoed. Really thinly, right? Like not big thick gesso like I showed you I did on that little ladybug thing.
Erin says, beautiful dripping. Janet says, love the messy stuff. And another Janet says, I'm loving it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so with here, I think I'm going to, I guess you can't quite see the top. Maybe, should I just go, yeah, I'll just move it up. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so now we're done on the table. So thanks, Pam. I've got this long stick. This is kind of fun to do this because I can't have very much control. You know, what am I going to end up drawing? You know, I got my themes, right? I like my horses, I like my birds, I like my buffaloes. But I don't have to be making any of them right now. We're trying to come in, but I get to just like do that. I feel like a teacher. Like, you know, like a teacher. This is a little charcoal thing. Sometimes I even go and get charcoal right out of the wood stove and smear it around. Because like, but what would you do with the charcoal in your hand? Like, what mark would you make? I always tend to like push really hard and want to. So there's something in me that always wants to do that. It feels so good. But there might be something in you that wants to go. You know, I think, and for me, this is really good to do this. I think it's good to do our natural expression and then to like feel the opposite, because it's good for me to feel, oh, what is it like to go really lightly? Because that's a contrast for me. I get to not hold the thing so tight and breaking it. It, you know, tells you a lot about, you know, the repatterning I'm actually doing in my body, because I've held on to life so tightly. And it shows in the grip of how I hold things. So that's kind of cool. And actually, I think I'm going to, because I have this turquoise paint, and I guess, you know, in terms of liquidy paint, that is something I do like about the house paint. It is often a little bit thinner, but I often still will thin it. But now like, let's just start making some marks. This is more gentle. Here we go. Can you guess what I'm starting? Yeah, you know. It's that buffalo. I wonder what it would be like. So, yeah, if you come in the course, I invite you to challenge me to also do something that doesn't feel like, oh, I know that. But I do, I do that. I've done a lot of different kinds of paintings that challenge me. Now, also, like down here is that black piece, and it's just starting to get the random drips. So that's going to make that easier to work on because it's already got something happening on it. So there I was doing that, kind of trying to do it lightly again, like my tendency is to go pretty firm. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to grab this, and lots of water. So if you don't have a space like this, like an art studio, you can put plastic down on the floor. You can do this outside. I often paint on the floor, which I show you in the course too. I like to paint down on the floor. I like to paint, I don't very often paint on a tabletop. That's kind of just turning into a big, it's not even really buffalo anymore, that's fine. So I'm just getting some paint on there. It doesn't look like anything because it isn't anything. I don't always collage on the raw canvas because rolling it up, sometimes the collaging, the paper gets kind of crinkly. This is some house paint too, different, kind of a purpley color. I haven't touched this one for a while. I like to just, again, as you know, like on this canvas too, this is just early, getting some colors and shapes. And because this has had nothing on it, so like I'm working from zero right now. You're seeing what a first layer might look like. And
Shirley is wondering if you have tried ink from Inky Shaggy Maine Mushrooms.
Oh, Shirley, did you make your own ink? I bet that's really cool. I use India ink. My favorite ink is India ink. And one of the things, this is part of one of the exercises in the course. I'm going to show you how, like, we do it on, we're going to do loose, messy India ink drawings on tissue paper and add that into our paintings. And that's really, really cool. So no, Shirley, I haven't made my own ink. I know someone else on Gabriola who has too. It doesn't even interest me, which is great. Like, I love that other people are interested in making their own ink because the colors are incredible. Yeah, like Brenda Lee down in your neighborhood, right?
Yeah, she makes amazing stuff.
But yeah, I'm not even drawn to it even remotely. But I love it that people are doing it. So this one, this canvas, it's not the best example of, I'm not going to get anywhere near to having something that's resolved here. I'm just making marks and I'm keeping it as loose as possible, like holding the paintbrush way back there.
They're yummy to eat before they turn black.
Oh yeah. So this color on the table, you can't really see it, but that's the color of the water now. But like, It's a really cool gray. The best way to make color, like, the best way to make gray is to mix two different colors, not mixing black and white. That's not the most interesting gray. And so all of these things are the stuff that I know and I can share with you. How to mix colors, that are interesting, how to, get it in harmony on your painting, or or to like bring the contrast, like whichever is needed. And I'm going to show you a lot of different painting experiences and a lot of different ways of painting. The way that I paint, but like a lot of the different techniques, pretty much all of the kind of techniques that I use when I'm painting. And also on this tabletop is a piece of canvas. So I've got, I've got layers on here. This is going to be, I'm inadvertently making the first layer of another painting right there on that. I'm not super going on to the blue buffalo because he was kind of done, but if a little bit gets on there, the blue buffalo that's on the wood behind, but if a little bit gets on there, it's okay. And then, that's a pretty big chunk of turquoise. So in the course, you're going to get to experience like just painting on a lot of different mediums. So, and you'll find what's your favorite. Like some people really love doing raw canvas, and then they put it on stretchers later, stretcher bars, or they just hang it on the wall the way it is. It's not my super favorite. The only time I really paint on raw canvas is when I want to go big and just have a big expression. And it's pretty cool, that you can roll it up. Like, what if you were going off to like I've taken this and had it as the backdrop for like an event or something. So that's kind of cool. This is all wet. It doesn't feel that exciting to me, which is fine because it's pretty early, obviously, and there's not much to do on here other than like, for me. But like when you have this on your wall or on the floor or out on the grass, what will be the next move for you? I kind of need to let this dry. These shapes are starting to look similar size. So they're not that interesting. You can take like a stick and you can drag this down, get some different. So that feels a little more interesting to me. So like I said, because canvas it's not totally my favorite. It doesn't have enough, because it's on wood though, it's working for me because it's got some resistance for me. So, I don't know. I could keep going on this messing around, but it's pretty messy. I'm going to just stick a bird on here just for fun.
Oh, Shirley says, looking forward to doing the course with you.
Aw, Shirley!
And then also cooking and baking while watching you paint is inspiring.
Aw, that's great. See, like, what if this was a great big crow? And I could take the time to draw it and paint it in. Actually, which I do. In the course, one of my demos is great big birds on a great big canvas way bigger than this. So,
Cool.
And then in the course, like, you will learn what are your images that you're drawn to over and over again and you'll be able to get curious about that and play with that. We don't even need to understand it. But if you like exploring in that way, you can. But just let yourself paint what you want to paint. Don't resist. Sheila Norgate said that to me in the early days of my painting. She said, when I was like, well, I just want to keep painting this buffalo. She said, don't resist. Don't resist. Like so. I've been gifted with having some super amazing creative artists in my life who've helped me to be able to live fully into who I am as an artist. And it's always evolving, right? It's not a static thing. And like I said, teaching didn't really appeal to me. But last year was like, wow, I think it's time. And so that's why making these courses and stuff, it's a lot of behind the scenes work, and it's a lot of energy when I was working as an artist, which I still am, but like when that was the only thing, it's easier in some ways because I'm by myself, which I love. Like I'm really quite introverted. I'm an HSP, which is highly sensitive person, so like I've learned how to manage my energy more to suit me, and working away in my art studio all day long, listening to books on tape and inspiring podcasts and music is like, it's amazing. And then just like last year, I was like, wow, but I'm feeling this calling. I'm really feeling this pull to share and to be able to share more of what I've had the good fortune to have been mentored and learn from people that have been so important for me. And I want to be able to share that with other people and help us just like, break out of these like boxes that we put ourselves in, because I think many of us do it. Maybe we all do it. I don't know. Like, it's only if you're in a box that you'd like to kind of break out of a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, with creativity and with painting. Like, creativity is self-care, and the highest level of self-care. Expressing yourself creatively is proven, right, to be like super high-end self-care. And so, like, how can we, if you're interested and intrigued or curious, like, how can we not give ourselves permission to move in that direction if that's what we're really feeling? Because, like, yeah. So anyways, I don't know how long this demo's been. I think it's definitely been an hour, right?
It's 2:11.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up because I don't want to keep you all here all day. But if you really if you want to have more of this, you'll want to sign up for my course, because I share a lot. Like, I'm real in there. And even someone on my Instagram feed yesterday, she says, yeah, like, wow, you're real easy. Like, you're really sharing. Like, yeah, because I've done a lot of healing, and I can share. Like, I'm not going to get taken down by somebody knowing these things about me anymore. And I want to, if it can be helpful to somebody else, then yay, I'm so excited to do this. So I'm so grateful that I get to do this. So yeah, if you're on the newsletter list, which is in the comments, Pam stuck it into the comments, you'll get a newsletter later this afternoon with a replay of this and all the details about the course. And if you're not on that, you can go get on that, and then you'll get first-hand news right from me about the course. And I will be sharing it on Facebook and stuff too, but my newsletter list gets all the details first, because they're the VIPs and they're the special ones, and probably lots of you are on there already. But if you're not, you can go and be on there. And yeah, is there any other questions? Like, what would I end with? Like, I would say, like, just consider for yourself, what? Go away, get the emails, read the stuff, check in with yourself, see what feels good for you. See what feels good for you. And if you're really feeling a calling, I would say don't resist.
Do not resist.
Do not resist. And you'll find a way to make it happen. Like the time, we always have the time and the money things, and those are always there. Like, so, like how long, can we afford not to indulge and let ourselves play in this way if that's what we're called to do? Especially like a transformative, this will be a transformative experience. I have no doubt, like with my creative sovereignty, both courses of that, and that's working with an art journal. Everyone is like, the kind of things that they're saying.
It's lifted me. I'm like energized and lifted and inspired like crazy from doing it. So,
yay, come. And so like I heard that over and over again, like just inspired and excited and given themselves permission to let their inner artist and their inner child artist come out to play. So anyway, I trust that you will make the right decision for you. Once the enrollment opens later today when I send out the email, and then I'll be sharing it in Facebook later. I'll be coming on live for the next 5 or 6 days here and there randomly to remind you and give you a little gentle nudge if you need a little nudge. And please send me a message or ask me any questions you want in an email. I'm totally available to answer anything that if you're curious about once you get all the details later today. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. I'm rooting for all of us to let our creative selves come out and just have some time at the wheel, like all the time actually. But like if they're not out yet, let them just have some more time. That's what I say. Right, Pam?
Exactly.
Okay. I think that feels like a wrap. I could speak more into the time, right? Like time, you'll make the time, but also the course has lifetime access. So if you can't make all the time right in this first stretch where I'm super guiding, you'll have access to everything like forever. Like for as long as the course exists, you will get access. And this, as far as space, like I said, you can work on a kitchen table. There's all kinds of things. So any of those questions, ask me. I'll be telling you more, and I'll go over more of this stuff in Facebook Lives coming up in the next 5-6 days. And then we're in, right? Like once we're in, the door closes for enrollment, we're in and we're painting. Okay? So there's not going to be a bunch of standing around chatting. We're going to get right at it. Okay. So thank you for coming. Thank you so much, Pam.
Love you, Tammy.
Okay, so I'm going to press finish, and I'll send the replay out later today, people. Thank you. 11. I love that it's 11. That's a good number. Here's the aftermath of the live call that I did today. So a little bit messy. Here's these two that didn't have anything on them yet. And there's that elk metal one. And then this one, kind of like inside, kind of like that top part there. That's kind of cool. Almost looks like a landscape or something. And here's the one that I started the other day on my Instagram Live. It said listen on it. There's a little bit right there of the original listen, that orange. Then I collaged all that stuff on it. And then yesterday I added a bunch of paint. And today I added some scribbles and some more paint and the crows. And then I started this big panel on the wall, which really didn't do. I just really wanted to show the motion of like really moving big, using big movements, because it's a big canvas. And but it was wet and there wasn't too much I could do with it without continuing to just make it a big mushy mess. But there's a place now, I have something going on, and there's something there I can now respond to, and that's the point. I want to get enough going on the first layer that I have something to respond to. And that's what I'll be showing you all about in Paint Your Wild Spirit.